Sign up with my Webull link and get 10 free shares. Link will be in the description below. So, growing my stock portfolio to $1 million. So, the two positions I'm currently in is a 2 times Bitcoin ETF and a 2 times Netflix ETF. So, basically, let's look at Netflix. So, looking at Netflix. Today we were down 0.69%. So on the daily chart, to me, it's still bullish. As long as the 9-day moving average can act as support on the daily chart, we should be good. We've used the 9-day moving average a couple times here, and here, here, and then here. And so I feel like if we do, let's say next week, we see a little bit of downside for Netflix. I expect for Netflix to pull back to the 9-day moving average, and we could see a slight bounce off the 9-day moving average if that does happen. So, let's look at it on the 30-minute time chart. So, basically Netflix, I would say it was a little choppy. I guess you could say. I mean, first of all, in the morning, right? So when the market opened, when Netflix opened, we were above the three moving averages, the 9, the 50, and 20. That was a good sign. But then all of a sudden, you can see that the 9-day moving average went below the 50-day moving average. And then it was just having trouble, throughout the day. In the middle of the day, we saw, Netflix reverse to the upside, made it above the three moving averages, and then just Netflix collapsed towards the closing of the market. So we finished below the 9-day moving average. So I feel like if we do see a healthy pullback, we're probably gonna retest this 50-day moving average on the 4-hour time chart. I previously mentioned before that usually when Netflix bounces off the 50-day moving average, it basically continues the trend towards the upside. So you can tell that Netflix has used it here, use the 50-day moving average here, then here, here, and then here. So I feel like if we do see a slight pullback for Netflix, next week, I expect for Netflix to approach the 50-day moving average and bounce off of it. So we'll have to see what happens for Netflix next week. So on the weekly chart, though, we are above the 180, the 200, the 180, the 209-day moving average. We are approaching the 20-day moving average. So, basically, we need to break the 20-day moving average. The 20-day moving average reads 82, so that's the next level of resistance for Netflix. So the next thing I want to talk about is basically our B2 position is finally in the green. It is up 4.31%. It is up $478. So it was an 11,000 investment, but let's look at Bitcoin, right? So basically all the cryptos are doing pretty good. Bitcoin is, carrying hard. So on the daily chart, we are having another big green candle. And I feel like this was long overdue, honestly. The reason I say that is because if you look at the chart, we've been in a downtrend ever since November of last year. The 9-day moving average crossed below the 20-day moving average, and then in the beginning of December, the 9-day moving average crossed below the 50-day moving average. Once that happened, it was just a roller coaster to the downside for Bitcoin. We at one point in the middle of April and May sort of tried staying above the 9-day moving average, and then at one point in the beginning of May, we were above the 20-day moving average, but that momentum fell short. So on the weekly chart, I feel like the next level of resistance that we need to break so we can see Bitcoin's, go up even further, is that we need to break this 50-day moving average. I feel like that's what needs in order to happen for Bitcoin to go up even further. So on the 4 hour time chart, look at this. Look how the moving averages look like this. When they look like this, on your screen, like how it looks like on your screen right now, that's usually a bullish sign for that particular stock or cryptocurrency. So I love the setup. I feel like if we do see a slight pullback, let's say Bitcoin does decide to pull back, I would honestly think Bitcoin would pull back to the 9-day moving average, and then we would bounce off of it. I think that's what's gonna happen. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's what's gonna happen. So, because we kind of see previously here on the 12 candle, on August 21st, Bitcoin slightly pulled back. It barely touched the 9-day moving average. The candle reads $75,076, and the 9-day moving average reads 74,624. So we barely touched it, but I feel like if Bitcoin were to have pulled back to that number of the 9-day moving average, we would have bounced off of it. We would have seen, we would have seen Bitcoin use the 9-day moving average as support. So I feel like we're good for now. I feel like if we do see a slight pullback for, Bitcoin, right? Okay, that's fine. It's just a little healthy pullback. I feel like, it'll pull back to the 9-day moving average, and then the momentum can continue further on. Or we could see, Bitcoin fall to the 20-day moving average, and then we can see that little, that staircase to the upside, like, slowly but surely. So we'll have to see what happens this week. So the next thing I want to talk about is an update on the $1,000 paper trading challenge. And what is the purpose of this $1,000 paper trading challenge? Basically, I want to grow this $1,000 to $2,000, and basically I want to actually take it, a step further of can we grow a real $1,000 to $2,000? So I want to practice, that way we can, we can try and see if we can grow, a real $1,000 to $2,000. So currently the position I'm in is in SpaceX call options, and these SpaceX call options expire September 18th of this year. They are down 36.11%. And so looking at SpaceX, right? So what I liked about today about SpaceX is that yesterday I mentioned we needed to hold this support of 136, right? But if you look close, yesterday we completely shattered that support. We did not, hold ourselves above that support level of 136. But surprisingly today, right? We managed to regain control of that support level of 136. So I'm very excited for what's gonna happen this upcoming week. I feel like the reversal to the upside could happen this week. I'm just gonna say that much. And the reason I say that is because number one, the SpaceX on the 4 hour time chart finished above the 9-day moving average. And then if you look on the MACD basically is over the orange line. So you can see that little green bar. And so I feel like this is a sign that maybe by next week, we will see this reversal to the upside for SpaceX. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated as always. Peace.